It's
my
fine.
Oh. No! I'm gonna kill something. I'm going to throw hands.
Yeah. So the computer died. Ignore that, but the computer died. That's fun. It's fine. It's really not the finale if something doesn't go wrong.
70%.
What?
It said it had like 70% before. It was nowhere close to dying. It should have lasted. I don't know why it didn't. Anyway, this is what recording is really like.
I get the notification on your phone that says battery sufficiently charged, and I feel like that was just rubbing it in.
Oh my gosh, what? It's like not coming back on. It must have like glitched out. It's because it wasn't close to dying. This computer just hates me.
Please, why does everything hate us? Oh
Literally,
my god, how
this
do
is
people do podcasts?
This is why you watch on YouTube, so that I have enough money to buy a new computer and watch the ads. It just died again. She hates us. Yeah, my computer shut down because of a problem. Really? I had no idea.
This is the real behind the scenes, so...
So what if it didn't save any of it?
No, please.
So what do we want to do?
I don't know.
Do we want to have camera audio?
Sure.
Okay, you know what? Let's ask the people.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I hate that. I hate that. That literally sucks so bad that happened. Hi, welcome back to me talking about my version of the Marauders in podcast form with Emma. Yeah, today we're doing something fun. Today we're also live streaming this episode. We have no idea how that's gonna go. I am a little concerned. But yeah, so let's get started, shall we? The questions are on my phone. I did not think this through at all. But I know what all the questions were that people wanted to ask. The biggest question was, this is the last episode.
Yes.
So we gotta have some last episode questions. The biggest one was, what is our favorite episode from the entire fun little thing here? From season 1, what has been our favorite episode? I think for me it's gotta be 3, because that's when Jeffrey was introduced.
No.
And it's kind of crazy. I don't know what we would have done without Jeffrey.
I was talking to my dad, that's his favorite.
It's everybody's favorite. Is that yours?
Mine, either that one or the one where they were like planning the big prank on everyone. Like on the whole school.
Oh, like
that one was fun.
the one with all your siblings in it?
That one, yeah.
Yeah, that one was pretty fun. I agree. So that's pretty great. That one, and then also the last one that we just recorded might be my favorite.
One.
But no, I really liked it. It just had some really great moments with Lily just like kind of starting to accept that she might be friends with the Marauders one day, but like she hasn't accepted it yet, you know? It's not happening yet, but it might happen.
We got Kingsley in it.
We got Kingsley in that one. We love Kingsley. We stand Kingsley.
He's a legend.
Yes.
Love him.
All right. So another question that people were very desperate to know is, will there be a season 2? When will there be a season 2? How long will the break be between season 1 and season 2?
This is what I've been wondering too.
And here's the thing, we don't know either. We have no idea, because we're both about to start school.
Yeah.
And it's like, we have no idea how busy we're gonna be. We have no idea how I'm gonna be able to write this much, how I'm going to be able to, you know, do anything. I don't know. We simply do not know, but we will try our best and we will keep you updated. I'll keep the community tab on YouTube updated with like when we're thinking of doing it. I'll also probably keep my Instagram and probably even my TikTok updated with this. Not that anytime I post a TikTok talking about my podcast, it actually gets done, but yeah. So we're gonna think about that. There was also a question, what has been your favorite part of this? because, like, I came up with it. But, like, what's been your favorite thing? Besides Jeopardy, because we already know that that's top tier.
I don't know. I honestly, it's just really fun to have, like, something to do, like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's been so
Yeah.
fun. And, like, I feel like I'm gonna need it during the school year, for sure. Just, like, something to just, you know, keep me busy, but, like, fun busy and not school busy. So I'll try and keep it up as much as I can, but yeah, I don't know. And then, yeah, there was one that was like, what have you learned about, like, myself, and what have you learned about me from, like, all of this? Like, is there anything surprising that you, like, learned about me that you're like, I did not think that Elizabeth, like...
I don't know.
Was there any episode that was, like, shocking to you? That you were like, oh.
I was just, I don't know. Honestly, the last, like, published episode, I was just sad. Like, I wasn't expecting this to be a sad thing. But
you're like, I signed up for this podcast and I thought it was going to be a fun thing, and then it was a sad thing.
Because here's the thing, like, over the past, like, over a year, you would, like, just send me, like long, like, texts about it.
Like, click to open text.
Yeah. And so, like, I would read and it would all be, like, fun stuff. And so one thing I like about the podcast is I get it all, like, in order, you know?
Because I would send you things randomly.
Yeah.
Like, in totally random orders.
And, like, it's fun to, like, get, like, the full story, but also the full story is sad.
I know, I always say that.
I know.
There's even more, like, just so depressing things, like, in the notes app of my phone. And I'm like, oh, that hurts, you know? But, you know, we love it, so. But yeah, so that's kind of fun, kind of funky, kind of fresh. I will say the one thing that I have learned about myself, as I have been going through and as I've been creating these, is that I love the idea of wizards punching each other rather than using their wands. I think it's great. I know I just made a TikTok about it. I know I wrote something about it. You will see wizards punching each other several more times throughout the thing. I love it. I don't condone violence in any way, shape, or form, but wizards punching each other rather than using magic, fantastic. I love it. It's my favorite trope, I think. I think it's my favorite thing. I legitimately do. And I'm like, that's kind of violent. Like, what if...
that's something I learned about you too, just now.
Oh, somebody did ask me who my favorite guest was besides you. So, I'm sorry. I'm going to pick a favorite that isn't you. And they're all great. I loved having every single other person. But frankly, Nicole was the most surprising and the funniest for me, because she just was so on board with everything that I said, even though she had no idea what was going on. Not a clue. She was just like, her reactions were so perfect, even though she had no idea what was happening. And I was like, this is the kind of person I need in my life. This is the kind of support I need throughout everything. Not that the others weren't like that, but, you know, they were just a little confused. And she was just like, I'm ready. There was never a moment of confusion with her.
What a legend.
But she was just so prepared for everything I had to say. Anyway, are we ready to jump in?
Yes.
All right.
Alright.
Let's jump into it.
I don't know if I'm ready for this.
Let's bound. Listen, it's going to be okay. We're going to make it through. We've had a lot of fun doing this. I'm not going to cry. It'll be fine. But yeah, so it's the last 4 days of 5th year. So it's the last 2 days of classes, and then the other 2 days are like meant for like packing and like just getting everything in order, because you gotta have 2 days for like a bunch of teenagers to try and pack up.
Like, no one like did this ahead of time.
No, nobody. But the last couple days are like honestly the best, because again, as I mentioned before, it's just like teachers doing fun things that are like meant to prepare them for the next year, so they're like trying more advanced stuff. But nothing is graded for those who like haven't taken OWLs. It's still a little stressful for like, I feel like the 1st through 4th years still actually have work, but like the 5th through 7th don't have any work for these last couple times.
Yeah, like they just finished their exams.
Yeah,
like,
so they're just like, they get a little break. So, but yeah, so it's a fun class. They learn fun charms, they learn really intricate like potions, which Lily loves, and they attempted to transform a Raiden, like a... because McGonagall was like, like, let's do a callback, guys.
She's like, shout out to Marlene.
Shout out to my girl Marlene. We love her.
That's actually word for word what she said.
Yeah, it actually is. So that's kind of fun. But no, Lily's like not vibing with the rest of the group very much, but she's like friends with Remus still. It's just like, she's like, I'm not gonna be besties with like James Potter. Like, that's not happening right now.
It's not like all of a sudden after he wasn't even friends with Remus that Lily's like,
no. But she still is like, he's like still just the epitome of like arrogance. She can't even hear his voice without being like, I hate this man, you know? You know, she's a bit dramatic, but it's okay.
They're all a bit dramatic. What a great match.
Yeah. But yeah, she still is like, Sirius is far too loud. But Peter's okay. I can do this. And she's like, also it's literally 4 days. Like, I can do this. This is fine. But then she did notice that the boys did keep their word. They aren't hexing anybody anymore. They're just not. And she's like kind of surprised that they would actually do that. And she's like, okay, like,
good for them.
Good for them. But no, Snape is still not thrilled with the whole Lily touching him thing. And he's like, now she's friends with everybody. And so he really is like trying to get a reaction out of both James and Sirius, but they always just like shrug it off. And they're like, yeah, sure, Snivellus, go right ahead, do whatever you're thinking. And it's not the reaction that
they're
Snape
like, I'm
wanted.
sure Lily would be so glad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of fun. And then Snape keeps on trying to apologize to Lily. So, too much. And Lily, like, finally one time, like, they were all walking down the hallway and, like, Lily was walking behind them. And, like, Snape is, like, trailing behind them. Being like, Lily, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call you a mudblood. I would never.
After he literally just said.
He literally did. He keeps on saying it while he's being like, I would never call you a mudblood, and he's saying the word. She's like, dude, calm down.
Oh my gosh.
But finally at one time she like she's just like giving him the silent treatment and like nothing, she won't give him any sort of reaction. Mm-hmm. But then one time she like whirls around and she's like, listen, I've heard your apology, Severus, and I might even accept it, but guess what? I'm still not gonna forgive you because I never will, and just stop it. Just stop doing this. I don't need it in my life anymore. And he's like, but Lily. This is Snape slander. No, but you know, once she like did that and she turns back and she sees like all 4 of the Marauders like with their wands out and they're ready. They're like ready to do something. Not ready to attack, but they're ready to defend her if anything happens. Just to ready, yeah. They're really sweet. And she like realizes that like they're on her side and it's like, what the heck? She's like, how did this happen from the beginning of the year to now? How did that change happen? And she's just like kind of like embarrassed by it, but she doesn't know what to think. And so she's just like, guys, let's go. And they
all like do like in sync like cowboys.
the wand boys. Oh my gosh, but yes, they did all put their wands back in sync. It was perfect. They have little holsters for their wands. Yes, that is canon.
Peter made them, actually.
He did. Peter does a crafting class on Fridays, and
that sounds like my kind of class.
Yeah, but anyway, Lily's just like kind of weirded out that she has friends that will like defend her this much, even though they've only been friends with her for like a couple of days, because
and she like doesn't even like consider them like friends.
Yeah, but they're like, we're friends now. They're like, sorry, you're a part of the group now.
Their ours are very much ride or die.
Yes, very much so. But yeah. But Lily was, after one day with the Marauders, there was only one thing that she was sure about. This is day 2 now. And it literally only took her one day to notice it. So one time when she and Remus finally have a moment alone, she's like, Remus. And he's like, what? She's like, Sirius. And Remus is like, immediately just like, goes like bright red. And he's like, what about Sirius? I don't know what you mean. Like, what is happening here? And she's like, Remus, you are hopeless for him. And he's like, oh my gosh, I'm not. He's like,
oh my Stop.
He's like, no, stop, slow down this conversation. She's like, you are. She's like, you totally are. It's been horribly painful to watch because I know. And she's like, you keep on like looking at him, you laugh way too much at his stupid jokes. She's like, those are not funny jokes. You need to get over yourself. And she's like, come on. She's like, you are not over him. And he's like, yeah, I know. But he's too nice. He's like, you should have heard what he told me like the night that he apologized. And she's like, what did he say? And he tells her. And Lily's quiet for a second. And then she's like, oh my gosh, he's hopeless for you too! And he's like, what? He's like, no. He's like, he does not like
Well,
me.
he's like, it's all coming together.
And she's like, oh my gosh. Because she's only heard his side. And his side is like, oh no, but Sirius would never be into me. And so like, she's never even got like a chance for this. But she's like, oh my gosh, Remus, he likes you. And he's like, no, he does not. He does not. This is not what's happening. No.
He's like, he was literally just dating Marley, and she's like, we both know that was fake.
Literally. But he's like, no, we've established it. And she's like, no platonic friend is like, I need you.
Yeah.
You balance me out.
She's like, are you hearing me say that?
Try to be a good person. She's like, I've never said that to you. And he's like, okay, that's not what he said. And she's like, that's basically exactly what he said. And he's like, she's like, he basically said, I'd quite like to snog you because I need you so bad. And Remus is like, that's not what he
He was
said.
like, I'm done with this conversation.
He really is. He's like, I'm fully done with this conversation. He's like, I liked being able to tell you about Sirius when you didn't know him or you didn't see him interact with me. He's like, that was ideal. But this is too much. Like,
this was not what I signed up for.
You can't give me input on this. Like, this is freaking him out. And then, but yeah, so he's like trying to get her to shut up, and she's like, okay, and I hate to say it, she's like, but he looks at you a lot too, Remus. He's kind of doing the same things that you were doing to him, and I was thinking maybe, and he's like, no, he's like, that's not true.
She's like, your jokes kind of suck sometimes too.
He's like, you guys are laughing way too much.
She's like, not even James laughs at my jokes.
Oh my gosh. But yeah. So, you know, he's like, you've literally been around us for one day. He's like, calm down. He's like, you don't know anything. And she's like, yeah, but I was looking for those signs. And he's like, why? And she's like, because you're not over him yet. It's a whole thing. But then finally Lily says the fateful words. She's like, you need to tell him. And he's like, no, not happening, no. Or at least that's what she expects him to say. What he actually says is nothing. He just doesn't say anything. He's like, and she's like, you should. And he's like, do you really think he could like me back? And she's like, yeah!
He's like, did you miss this conversation?
Did you just literally miss the entire conversation? But no, so she's like, yeah. She's like, I've only been around you guys for like literally a day, but Remus, like, he's not gonna care. You know, we already know that like he likes guys, so like he's not gonna judge you for that. And like if he doesn't have a crush on you, he doesn't have a crush on you. And like what's
and it's not like you're gonna stop being friends after he says I literally can't live without you.
Yeah. And he's like, okay, I guess I'll think about it. And yeah. Okay. So then, that night, Remus is still thinking about it. He's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know what's gonna happen. But Remus is getting ready for bed, and then Sirius comes out of literally who knows where, and he's like, Remus.
Like, hello.
He's like, Remus, I started reading that book that you were reading in History of Magic today, and like, it's so good. Don't spoil anything, but like, I love it so much. And he's like, oh my gosh, and this has been like happening a lot. Like, Sirius keeps on reading books, and it's like so out of character for him. He's like, listen. And so then they start talking about this book for like so long that James literally yells at them to shut up. He's like, I'm trying to go to sleep. And so they do, and they like put up a silencing charm, and like they're, you know, sitting up in bed and talking and stuff like that. And they laugh and they joke and they talk about Lily. Sirius is very concerned about the fact that Lily does not like him. He's like, I'm very disappointed that, you know, she still finds me annoying. And he's like, how do I get Lily to not hate me? And Remus is like, I don't know, shut up, maybe once. every hour.
So he's just like, thanks.
It might be nice, yeah. But yeah, once during this like nighttime chat, you know, it's getting towards the end of the year, so they're just like just talking about everything, you know, it's just what happens. They're just talking about everything, like everything for throughout the year and everything like that, and it's just great and very therapeutic.
And it's not like they have to like get up early and stuff.
Yeah, they're just like up forever. But yeah. But then suddenly, once during this chat, Remus just gets this overwhelming feeling, and he's like, I need to tell Sirius everything. I need to tell him that, you know, I like him, that I want to be with him, I can't stop thinking about him, and that it's been years, and nothing has gotten better. And, you know, he almost does. He almost does in this nighttime chat, but then he stops himself. But this time, instead of like the like, no, I shouldn't tell him, it's more of a like, no, I shouldn't tell him now. And Remus is like, oh shoot, I gotta tell him, and we are leaving in 2 days. So how's that gonna work out? Oh, everybody's so upset.
No. That's how I'm, oh my.
Listen, I said no, not now, guys, calm down. It's gonna happen. But no, now let's go over to James for a little bit. Because these 4 days for him, these last 4 days are a whirlwind. Because to his surprise, Lily is not what he imagined her to be like. And she's like a real person. And he's like talking with her, and he's like,
who would have guessed?
He's only like ever seen her like prefect leadership type persona, and not her when she's just like chilling. And she's just like so like snotty and sarcastic, like to him specifically.
And she's like, I'm even more in love.
No, he's not. I think he's less. I think he's kind of falling off because he's like, you were just not what I was thinking that you were. But she's still just very much not interested in him. But he, you know, discovers other things that are different about her. For example, for some reason this man got it in his head. He's like, the reason that she hates Quidditch is that Snape hates Quidditch, and he like forced her to not come to any games, and he had it in his mind that Snape was the reason that she hated Quidditch. But then like he's talking to her, and no, Lily just hates Quidditch. He's like offended.
How do you?
Are you telling me you've never done this with a crush? You've just like thought of them completely different from how they actually are? Okay, I've done that. Whoops. I was like younger though, like don't worry about it. No, but like that's just what James was doing, and then like he's actually getting to know
that
her.
wasn't even I was just the fact that he thought she didn't like Quidditch because Snape Quidditch. That's just so funny.
Yeah, he really, but that's like not the only thing. Like there were many things that were like this. And so he's like getting to know her. But yeah, he's like offended. She doesn't like sports, and he's like, how could I have ever liked her? Honestly, at this point. But he's also like, she is like so smart. And she doesn't always have the best grades, but she is smart in a way that James can never be smart in, and that is in observation. Lily can be clueless, but a lot of times she's not. Lily can be clueless about things in her own life, but when she's like looking at you, like he just did not understand how like she could look at Remus and be like, oh, something's bothering you. Like it just could never occur to James to do that. He's like, he could, but like he's like, how does she just do it so well? And she just like,
you have Lily
these tiny
who's like
things.
Sirius likes Remus back, and you have James who's like, so Sirius is in love with Marlene.
Yes, and that's the difference. No, but it's like, so she's observant with a lot of stuff like that, and it just absolutely blows James away. And he's like, how is she just like so good at this for no reason? And he's also a little bit offended because now he doesn't feel like he's the smartest person in the group anymore. And he's like, wait, I thought that I always would be. And he's like, wait, I'm kind of upset by this. But anyway, mostly James just really strongly dislikes being disliked. So he made it his goal by the time that they left school, which was 2 days at this point.
James.
He was gonna get Lily to, you know, at least like have a conversation with him. You know, like not like him,
That's
but
reasonable.
like him, you know?
Setting, yeah. Good for you, James.
But it's still gonna take a lot of work though. And he tried like everything that like usually worked with like girls. Like he's like, "What's up? Like, how are you doing?" She's like, "Dude, stop it." She's like, "I do not want to talk to you like that." But yeah, so he's trying that. It's not really working. And then on Lily's,
just a bit too much.
He's a bit too much. Like it's like that Hank Green TikTok. Did you see that? It's like it has occurred to me that if I met me, people might think I'm a bit much. And that's literally James. I'm gonna. I gotta Hank Green. I'm gonna make a TikTok like.
Why
that.
is the other one Nick is not green? Why are they both green?
Anyways, so back to this. Lily, from Lily's side of this, she's like so interested in the map for these last couple of days. She's like, I want to find out everything there is to know about this. And also, the boys aren't stupid. They kept track of like what they did in like a huge like book thing. Like basically a binder, but it's like a wizard binder, so it's not like a binder. But they, they just gave it to her, and they're just like, look through this.
Like,
this is like what everything is, literally. But they're still like, they're like not great at taking notes sometimes. So like a lot of times she'll be like, wait, what does this mean, or something like that.
And also just have, like, random, like, notes.
Yes.
They just, like, passed around.
She's like, this is stupid. But anyway, but she never asks James. She always asks somebody else, like, what's up with this? And she says, and a lot of times she'll say something and she'll be like, on the map, okay, it says that you use this spell to, like, track this thing, but, like, wouldn't it be way simpler to use, like, this other way simpler spell? And they'll just, like, be sitting there and they're like, yep, it probably would be. Thanks for bringing that up now, Lily. We really appreciate it after we did
like,
all of this
were
work.
You?
Yeah, so she's like correcting a bunch of things that they did, and they're like, yep, that would have been much easier. Thank you for telling us this. I don't know. Sometimes James is just like, I gotta take the long way.
They like invent their own spells.
Literally.
And Lily's like this man, and they're like, sorry, we're creative. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But she's really interested on how they plan on like keeping this up. Because she's like, I don't think you guys can go
just, like, to all the first years and be like, pew, pew.
Yeah, she's like, are you just planning on doing that just like inconspicuously? And they were like, well, that was the plan. She's like, that sounds like a terrible plan. And so she's like, we have to get this figured out. So she starts working on it. She starts trying to do this, and she like is asking Remus for like all the spells they used and what they tried and what they didn't, and he's like, listen, I'm sorry, but James,
you gotta talk to James.
He's like, James did most of this. You really have to ask him. And she's like, do I really though? And he's like, yes, you do. He like actually knows what he's talking about. He's just a person, Lily. If you want to know what it is, you gotta go talk to him. And so she does. And he explains how to do it. And like they just end up being so like snotty and condescending to each other throughout this whole thing. And it's like this whole thing of like, well, couldn't you use this? And James is like, well, no, because then this thing wouldn't be able to work this way. And it's just like so long and convoluted. It should have been like a 2-minute conversation.
You were gonna say it would have been like if they finally like you were getting along.
No, they are snotty to each other, but they're talking, okay? But then at the end of the conversation, James actually really did good on this whole tracking spell. He worked really, really hard on it. And so at the end of this, she finally loses, and he like tells her this thing, and he's like, yeah. And she's like actually genuinely impressed. And he's like, Evans, how much of an idiot did you think I was? And she's like, I thought you were a huge idiot, but frankly you weren't. And he's like, oh. He's like, okay. And she's like, I'm sorry, I really thought you were dumb. And he's like, cool. And honestly, for James, he considers that a win. He's like, this was a conversation that ended in her not hating me. It's a win for him.
Moving on.
We're moving on. Okay. So the night before they have to leave is now here. And it's the end of year feast. Lily's been like stressing herself out working on this, whatever she's working on, but like she also won't tell any of them like what is happening. It's like a whole complicated thing. They'll be like, hey, so like what are you doing? She's like, no, I'm doing this. And they're like, hey,
this
isn't like how we normally do things. And she's like, well, it's how I'm doing things. Sorry. But yeah.
Like, this is a team effort.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so like end of year feast happens. They're all very happy, very full, and Remus still hasn't told Sirius. And he's like, okay, you know what? I have to do it. I have to make a plan for tomorrow. And he writes out this whole long paragraph. It's this whole thing is what he writes out. And he's like, I'm going to do it. And he... should I just read it?
Yes.
Okay. You're so excited. You're like, yes, you should. It says, Sirius, I know that we've been friends for a long time, and trust me when I say I would never do anything to jeopardize that. However, I feel like I've been hiding something from you for a very long time, and I feel like it's time to come clean. He said, let me finish saying everything before you get to interject. Okay? Like, you gotta let me finish, bro. He said, the truth is, the night you told me that you fancied boys, I should have just told you the truth. But the truth is, and the truth is, I do too. I always have. But the reason I didn't say anything is because, frankly, I have had a crush on you for a long time. And when you told me that you liked somebody else that night, I couldn't do it. I chose to hide. And I see now that that's stupid. I should have been honest with you. And if I'm being honest with you, I still have those feelings now. And if you don't feel the same, that's fine. I can get over it, no problem. Totally fake. He would never get over it. But he says, but I don't ever want to stop being friends with you. We never have to talk about this again if you don't want to, but what do you think? So that's the whole thing. He's memorized it word for word, that whole paragraph, because he's like, if I don't memorize it word for word, I know in my soul that none of it is gonna happen. You know, like he's terrified, but like also so excited. And it's just like that weird,
yeah, like jittery,
great feeling, but it's also horrible. But he's gonna do it. He's gonna tell Sirius, and he's going to tell him tomorrow, the last day, and he's decided that he's gonna, get him up early, and like so he can tell him before the others wake up, or before Peter wakes up. James will be on his run, probably. Actually, no. James actually is not going on his run the last day because he's like...
He's too invested with Lily.
No, just because he's like, it's the last day I'm gonna sleep in. But he's like, so if it goes great, it goes great. And if it goes horribly, don't have to see him for the rest of the summer. All is great, Like, have time to get over him. Everything will be great. He'll do it first thing in the morning. It's gonna be perfect. The next day, nobody's packed. Nothing's ready. Everyth's silent. Everything's tranquil. And then Lily bursts into the dorm at like 7 a.m. before like Remus was like getting ready to like get up and like wake up Sirius, and she bursts in and she's like, guys, everybody up now. I figured it out. And then like Remus is like, Lily, please. He's like, Lily, please not right now. But like James is like, awake.
Let's go.
He's like, let's do it. I'm ready.
He's like, we're all going for a run.
Literally. He's like, let's all go for a run this morning.
She's like, that's not what I meant.
No. But she's like, I figured out how to get everybody on the map, and she's like, and we have to do it right now. So she's holding 2 vials of like a clear potion, and she like tells him, she's like, okay, I figured out how to infuse these with the same tracking charm that you guys made up, and I figured out how to put it into the potion, and this is a special potion, and I got it to connect to the map. She like went through all of this like weird stuff, and they're like, what the heck did you do? She's like, listen, guys. I've been up all night, and Remus was like, don't you like have like a very strict sleeping schedule and you like go to sleep at like 9 p.m. every night?
She's like, shut up.
She's like, I did not sleep last night. We're gonna do it now. She's like angry, sleepy Lily who is on a mission. This is my favorite kind of Lily.
She's determined.
She's very determined. So she's like, give me the map right now. She's like, we're gonna dip the map in the potion. And James is like, hold on. Maybe I don't want you to dip this map that we poured our entire soul in. She's like, guys, I tested this. It's not gonna ruin the map. Like it's a liquid, but it's not like a liquid. So she's like, it's gonna work. But like James is like not on board. They argue for like way too long. Sirius is like barely awake. He's like, this is not how I planned on this morning going. Remus is really like, this is not how I planned on this morning going. But they ended up doing it. They dipped the map in the potion. And then she's like, okay, next step, we have to go down to the front steps of the castle and put it on the steps of the castle so that whenever people walk up it, they get their names and stuff onto the map. And that's how it works. But they're like, okay, shouldn't like only one of us go down there? She's like, no, I'm gonna need a lookout. I'm gonna need, like, she has this whole plan. So they all have to walk down at like 8 a.m. and like you know, in Scotland. I don't know. Just like walking.
What does that have to do?
I don't know. It's just, it makes sense.
In Scotland.
And yeah, they just are absolutely vibing, having a good time. Yeah, they're just still in their pajamas, and then, you know, people are watching out while like Lily and James are like pouring this liquid all over the steps, and like they have to let it like soak in, and then, you know, they're doing all of this, and then James is like, okay, so let's test it, and then Lily's like, who are we gonna test it on? And that's when they realize that they can't test it because they don't have anybody that doesn't already have the thing. And so
James is like, Mom, you gotta come here.
no, but he's like, you know, but they're like, okay, well, I guess we just gotta wait for next year and just hope for the best. And they're like, it should last until next year? She's like, it should last forever. Like, I don't know, man. And they're like, okay. And then, but then they're like going back up, and James is like so angry with Lily because he's like, my one day off from running, and this is what you do for me? He's like, you make me go out and
she's like, I'm trying to help you keep a routine, James. Sleeping schedules are important.
She's like,
after she hasn't slept.
But yeah, so then that took a while, and then of course they all had to like, you know, shower, pack, get ready, and it became a whole ordeal because throughout the year they like just shared a lot of their general supplies, and so it's like really difficult to like figure out whose is what, and they're like doing all this weird stuff, and before they knew it, it was 10:30, and the train leaves at 11 o'clock, as we know.
Remus.
Yeah.
All together.
And so Remus is like, oh my gosh, I am completely out of time. Like, what am I supposed to do here? He's like, I'm not going to do it on the train. Like, how do you get privacy on a train, first of all? And like, no. He's like, it's not happening. I have to do it here. But he's like, you know, for him, he's like panicking, and it like just like feels like a sign that like no matter what he did, he like couldn't get Sirius alone, and he's like, it feels like a sign like maybe I shouldn't tell him. And he's like freaking out. And then on the other hand, he really, really wanted to tell him. He's like freaking out, and everybody's like, Remus!
Oh jeez, man. The fans want to know.
I know, so do I.
We're rooting for you.
I know, okay.
You're in suspense.
I know, I'm in suspense, guys. I want to know what's up. So that was 10:30, and they're like still trying to figure out, and he's like trying to like figure out how to talk to Sirius, but Sirius is like, of course, the least organized of everybody, and he's like still throwing things in and everything like that. And then finally Sirius looks over at Remus, and he's like watching from the corner, and he just looks like utterly, like completely stressed. Just like, looks like he's like about to start having a panic attack, which he might be, you know? And then so Sirius like goes up to him, and he's like, okay dude, like what's wrong? Like, you good? And Remus is like, nothing's
like,
wrong, I'm fine. And he's like, actually no, it's 10:45. He looks at his watch. He's like, actually, can we go talk? And he's like, sure, about what? And he's like, not here. And Sirius is like, okay, let's do it. And Remus is panicking. Remus is like, he's like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. It'll be great. And so then, like, you know, they decide you know, Sirius follows Remus out of the dorm, and Remus and Sirius is like, the others are like, where are you going? And Sirius is like, I gotta find my watch in the common room. Yep, that's it.
And it was like, believable.
Go on, have fun. So, you know, they go down to the common room, then they go out of the common room, and they're looking, and they just go into the nearest empty room, which like is like an abandoned classroom or whatever. And Sirius is like worried. He's like thinking, because his mind doesn't go to like, oh, like I bet there's like, you know,
something fun.
Yeah, like his mind is like, why is he freaking out before going home? Is like everything okay type of thing. And so like once they're in there, he's like, are you okay? Are you okay, dude? Like, you look horrible. And Remus is just like, he can't say anything. He's like, loses the ability to speak. And he's like, what's wrong, Remus? Like, what do you want to talk to me about? And Remus just like completely loses his nerve. He's like, nothing. It was stupid. Like, I'll go back. It's all good. And Sirius is like, no, you brought me all the way here. It must be important. I know you. And that just makes things worse for Remus. He's like, oh my gosh, he knows, like, I know. But like he's just freaking out. This is not like a romantic situation
No,
at all.
this is like a panic situation.
Yes, because Sirius is like, he's like, just calm down. Everything's gonna be okay. We're gonna breathe. Everything's gonna be great. And so then, you know, Remus does, and then he's like, okay, gotta remember the first words to my speech. And the first words of his speech are like, Remus, I know that we're friends, or something like that. So he's like, or not Remus, Sirius. He's like, Sirius, I can't. And then he tries again. He's like, Sirius, I know. And then just doesn't say anything. And Sirius is like, you know? And he's like, I know. He's like, I know. Remus is just not having a good time. And then, you know, he like, you know, puts his arms on his shoulders and he's like, it's all right. It's all right, Mooney. You can tell me anything. It'll be okay. And then Remus takes one more big breath and he tries again. And he says, Sirius. Sirius. And then tried one more time, took in a big breath and said, Sirius. And then before he knew what was happening, he was leaning in, and then suddenly Remus was kissing Sirius. Yay! And he did not know what was happening. That was just like a gut reaction right then and there. And he's just like, oh my goodness, and it's just like great. And there's like butterflies and everything. Oh, but they kiss and it's great. And he's having such a good time. But then, you know, it's been a couple seconds and then he's like panicking because suddenly he realizes that Sirius is not kissing him back. Sirius is just like shook and he's just like standing still. And then Remus gets terrified because he's like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I just kissed my best friend with no prior warning. What is this? And so he pulls away and he's like, I am so sorry. He's like, I did not mean to do this. I wasn't thinking. And then Sirius pulls in Remus for another kiss. And then it's all great. And it all finally made sense. Party, party! Oh my goodness. Yeah, so that's pretty great.
That is pretty great.
Anyway.
Good for them.
Then let's wrap this up. So, James and Peter are both like, where the heck did Remus and Sirius go? They're just like, they literally just left us to do all of the packing.
They're like, this
for
is
real.
all Sirius's stuff.
He's like, literally all of Sirius's stuff is still here. And then they are like realizing, they're like, we literally have 5 minutes. Like, we do not have time to be doing this. So they pack up all of like Sirius's things and they take both Sirius and Remus's trunks down to the common room where like the rest of the house is there and everybody's leaving, but they're still not there. And then like, you know, I think they have like this amplified voice of McGonagall going around the entire castle being like, okay guys, it's time to leave. Peter and James are still confused because they're just still not there. They're like, where are our friends? They're still making out, y'all. They're having a good time, but the others are not. They're like, where is everything? So they magic like the 4 trunks out of the common room where they finally meet up with Sirius and Remus in the hallway. And they both look pretty flustered, but it just looks to them as though they've just like run, like they ran from somewhere and they're coming back up to the common room. And they're like, there you are! Did you finally find your watch then? And Sirius is like,
watch.
That watch, yep, that's what I was doing. We found it in a classroom. That's for sure.
Yep.
And Remus is like, yes, that's what happened. That's the only thing that just happened. Don't worry about it. And of course James doesn't notice anything, so he's like, okay. Sounds like
cool. And Peter's like, you literally don't own a watch.
He's like, I didn't know you. He's like, I didn't know you know how to read time.
It's like, you can tell time. Wow.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, yes, James doesn't know a blessed thing that's going on. Poor James.
Man.
Anyway.
This is why we were so shocked Lily knew what was going on.
I know. This man just doesn't know anything. But he's like, have you guys seen Lily anywhere? And Peter's like, yeah, she went down to the train like ages ago. She looked so exhausted, looked like she was not having a good time. She should never stay up past 9
She's just getting on the
p.m.
train and then passing out.
Literally, she's already on the train and she's already asleep. I promise you. But anyway, So yeah, they go on the train, they find Lily just already asleep in a train car, and they just like go in, and they're fully talking, and she like barely wakes up. She like wakes up and is like, okay, what's up? And then she just goes immediately back to sleep for like the entire rest of the train. But yeah, they were all very happy and very chipper going home that day. Sirius especially. Wow. I can't think why.
He's just, he found his watch.
Yeah, he's so... That needs to be code for like anything. Anytime they do anything, they found his watch.
That's their excuse every single time.
They're like, yeah, we were looking for Sirius. Sirius keeps on misplacing his watch like crazy. Oh my goodness.
And James just never.
He's like, oh, okay. He's like, only Remus can help Sirius. This sounds like a bad euphemism. Anyway, we're gonna keep on going. James is like, I have literally never seen you so excited for like a summer in my entire life. Are you like good? Like what has happened? You just think that you'll like be able to visit a lot? And then, you know, Remus kind of looks at, Sirius kind of looks at Remus and he's like, yeah, I think I'll be able to get out quite a lot this summer. And Remus is like, yes. But yeah, so the train ride is pretty uneventful though. They're just having a good time. And then oh goodness, sorry. And then when everybody starts like, when the train arrives and everybody starts to leave, Remus, as like casually as he could, is like, Sirius, can you like, I don't know, help me with my trunk or something? I can't get it down. Oh no, it's like already down. He's like, I can't do it. But he's like, sure. So, you know, and it's like just them for just a second. He's like, he reaches into his trunk and he pulls out a small, just like plainly wrapped, inconspicuous package that he's had, just in case, for quite a while. And it looks like a book. And Sirius is like, you got me a book? And he's like, not quite. It's a journal. I have a matching one, and I used a protein charm on them. And so whenever you write in one, I'll be able to see it and vice versa. That way that we can talk without worrying that your mom is going to like check the owls or anything. And also it's like instantaneous. So Sirius is like, that's Mooney. That's so great. You're so wonderful. And Remus is like, yeah, you're not so bad either. It's like cute or whatever, but then they have to leave because they're still on the train. And there's still like people around them and stuff, just not like their friends. But yeah, so then they leave and everybody says goodbye to each other and hello to their families and everything. And, you know, it's all so great and everything. But, and Remus is the only family member that's there, and the only family member that's usually there to, like, drop Remus off is, like, his dad, because his dad's a wizard. And so, you know, he goes and drops in, he says hi to his dad, but, like, Lily is, like, off to the side, because, like, her parents still aren't quite there. And so he's like, I'll wait with you. And so he goes, and he's like, so, excited for the summer? How you doing?
Lily's like...
Lily's like, I just woke up. She's like, dude, you need to calm down. He's like, you excited for the summer? She's like, not really. I don't really have any friends in my hometown anymore. And Remus is like, yup, that's fun.
Party.
He's like, well, listen. He's like, James always invites us over in the summer, and like, I'm sure nobody would mind if you came along. And Lily's like, yeah, I'm gonna have to say no thanks to that one. She's like, I'd rather just not hang out with James and his entire, like, at his, like, freaking estate that he has, you know? She's like, I'd rather not. Fair. And he's like, fair enough, but, like, you know, you can, at least we need to, like, do something. And Lily's like, you'll promise that you'll write to me, like, a lot? I'll be so bored. And he's like, of course I will. You'll hear from me, like, every day if you want. And Lily's like, thanks. She's like, but what I really want is, like, a genuine conversation with somebody. She's like, it's so weird to me that wizards have actual magic, and they just are like, let's write letters. Let's write letters and deliver them via owl. She's like, this seems a little, you know, not nice. And he's like, yeah, it kind of sucks. And then he's like, wait a second, Lily. He's like, I literally have a telephone at my house. And she's like, you do? And he's like, yeah, my house is basically a muggle house. He's like, I can't believe I didn't think of this before. So, you know, Lily pulls out a scrap of paper and writes her number on it. And she's like, then call me, like a normal person. And he's like, I will. And then Lily's parents and Petunia show up, and she's like, I gotta go. And she's like, but I'll talk to you, Remus. He's like, I'll talk to you soon, Lily. And then she leaves, and then Remus goes home with his dad, and everybody goes home. And that's the end of the season! Ah! We did it! Of course there were problems with this episode. Of course there were. I'm so mad that we had technical difficulties. But yeah. How are we feeling?
Good.
I'm glad that was an immediate good.
Good. That was a really good one.
Yeah.
I liked that one.
Yeah, we finally got Wolfstar. Everybody has been asking me since the beginning of time when Wolfstar is getting together, and I'm like, it's got to be a season finale type thing. It's got to be. You know, I hope that this finale lives up to everybody's hype and expectations. Judging off of the live, I think it does. But who knows what happens when it goes up on YouTube. Yeah, I liked having the live. I don't think we can do it all the time though.
Yeah.
But for like big things, I think we probably could. So yeah, that's the end of the first season. I don't know when the second season is coming out. I wish I could like give more information about that. I will have no idea until I go back to school what it's like to like go back to school, you know? We just won't know. But yeah. There's gonna be some other fun stuff in between though.
Oh yeah, I am excited for that.
Yeah, we're gonna have a fun video where me and like a couple other people that have like visited and stuff like that, we're gonna rank Harry Potter ships from all across, like just all the ones that you see on like AO3 and like Pinterest. I've heard has some cringy ships. And I think I'm gonna have to explore on Marauder's Pinterest and find some cringy ones.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah. But we already know Wolfstar and Jilly, top tier. Janape.
S tier.
No! Well, also, I'm considering meeting with Emma's dad and my mom and doing little mini interviews with them and seeing what are their thoughts on the first season of the podcast. I don't know. I haven't asked your dad that. He's probably gonna listen to this and be like, "Oh, I guess that's happening now."
Sure.
I don't know.
Jeffrey was also there. He walked Lily to the train.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, when they left. Oh my goodness, I didn't write in Jeffrey when they left. I forgot to do that. Okay, you know what? We're gonna say it right now. When they left on the train, this happened every year. Jeffrey was there watching them, and you could see his scarf billowing in the wind from the train, and he just looked proud and majestic.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's what happened. Yeah. Okay. Should I end it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll end it then. Thank you so much for watching, genuinely, and listening. It's been so much fun to make this. I never thought that I would be able to. But I'm glad so many people enjoy it. I never thought anybody would like to listen to my TikToks. And then I was like, I'm gonna make a podcast, and I'm like, nobody's gonna listen to this. It's gonna be like 4 people. And it's not 4 people. It's a lot. Yeah, and so it always blows me away, and thank you for putting up with all of the technical difficulties. I feel like we've had like 3 episodes that are like normal.
The last one we just filmed.
Mm-hmm. And the last one we filmed, the one before that was also good.
Mm-hmm.
And then your siblings one. I feel like those ones, and then like maybe one more random one. But the audio just always does not like to deal with me because I don't have a good computer. But yeah. I hope that everybody has really liked doing this. Thank you so much. And of course, thank you to Himalaya Black, Benji Wilson, for cover art and the music. It just makes everything a million times better. It makes me feel so much better about it. And yeah, I hope that you all have enjoyed. I have no idea when season 2 is coming out, but I'll keep you updated. And thank you so much for watching. Bye! Oh, goodness gracious.